All right, we're back in Scouching's video room. Today we are taking a look at Buffalo Sabres' most recent first-round draft selection, Mr. Konsta Helenius, who has already made the challenging jump into North American professional hockey, playing in the American Hockey League for the Rochester Americans. So he is number 91 here in the bottom right corner. If you're not familiar, what we do on this show is we basically just take a single game cross-sectional look at a player, look at what they're doing, maybe some areas of potential improvement, and just sort of casually take a look at exactly what it is a player brings to the game. So today we're going to get right into Mr. Helenius and we'll see what we can find. And right off the bat, we can find a little quick something here. It's not, again, this is an important thing that we've seen in these videos quite a lot about players off the puck in the offensive zone. So Helenius is here. Obviously, this is immediately after the beginning of his shift, but you'll see at the moment, he is in open space, ready to receive a pass. He's got a bit of a lane that he can exploit here if he wants. He doesn't get a pass, but also he's still in position a couple of seconds later to receive a pass in open space here with a bit of a lane or a bit of something he can work with in the offensive zone. And then you'll notice a little quick cut. Nothing fancy, but it allows him to change direction enough to avoid this interaction in front of the net completely. So there's three guys tied up here, which now opens up little pocket of space right here for him to sort of float through. And so if the puck sort of gets rebounded off the goaltender, he's right there for a potential rebound goal opportunity. And he goes right to the net. So that's just a quick little thing that right off the bat we can sort of spot and go, yeah, you know what? This is a thing I saw with him last year quite often, that off puck, gapping up, finding space and going to the net type thing that coaches love to see, and it works in the NHL. I'm not sure what's going on here, and I'm not sure if this is the beginning of a pattern here on the forecheck for Helenius, but he is this guy in the offensive zone, the first man in on the retrieval, and he just kind of completely backs off on any pressure and then just puts his stick in the gut of this guy. If you ask me, if that guy keeps his feet moving or just keeps moving in some way, that could have been a hooking call, and he could have just pinned the guy against the boards there. I saw Helenius last season be quite a physical player, so maybe this is just a one-off instance, but that's a little strange, and the last thing you want is to find yourself in the penalty box 200 feet from your own net. So again, super subtle. You can be the fastest, most skilled, most whatever you want in the game, but sometimes just being clever and basic and simple is all you really need to do. You'll see Helenius is along the boards here. He's being covered by this guy here, but you'll note that as he cuts to the middle of the ice here on the shot attempt, he's just going to lift this guy's stick, just sort of slap it in the air, which gives him an easier route to get to the net. And he almost gets himself a rebound opportunity. So he cuts through, knocks the stick out of the way, and goes right to the front of the net. It's super subtle, super basic, and then he just gets the puck and sort of goes for a skate. That's a thing that I'm noticing in this game as well. Helenius's edges and his ability to sort of carry momentum through his turns and cover the flow of play and go with changes of direction of play is actually pretty good. That ability to sort of cut in the middle there, avoid the defenseman, it's good stuff to watch. So that was a good sort of little sequence from him there, but play got stopped. So this is going to be super quick, and it's definitely not a real serious issue, but I think it's an indicator of maybe some of the limitations of an 18-year-old in the AHL, but he's in the net front battle here. The puck's going to come around the boards, and he's just going to get muscled out of the way relatively easily. Hershey gains possession here. You can't expect the world of an 18-year-old in the AHL. I think that's obvious. You got to have guys, you hope, get stronger and win those battles a little more. Off the puck, again, Helenius is smart. He sort of sees both of these guys sort of watching the puck. They're not super thinking much about him. Nobody covers him, and he just sort of takes a bit of an easy route to the net. So right now, he goes to the net this way. No one is going to be there. And so for me, if I'm this guy, you know, there's a chance for a spinning sort of backhand attempt there if you wanted to, or just try to slide a pass through a bunch of traffic if you want. Or, you know, you kick it out to your blue liner here who can put it on net, and maybe Helenius is there for a tip or a rebound. Really, really smart off-puck stuff in the offensive zone from Helenius, showcasing a lot of what makes him a reasonably successful AHLer to this point, especially for an 18-year-old. So Helenius isn't the fastest guy in a straight line out there. In my opinion, I'm not totally sold on his ability to be a serious transition play driver, especially through his puck carrying, but again, he's a very, very smart 200-foot guy. That's always kind of what I thought he was. So watch him back check here. He's shoulder checking over and over and over again. Watch how many times you can see his eyes, right? So he is monitoring this guy, as he should, right? So you've got this, and you've got this, you've got this, you've got a trailing forward here, but that's not the biggest concern in the world. So he checks over his shoulder, and I'll try to count it, but that's 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And just so he's always in position, and number 10 here is really just not that good of an option all of a sudden here, right? I mean, yes, you could argue that, this is not so great, but I would much rather have this interaction with 2 Rochester guys. This is a bit of a difficult pass for that player in that scenario, and shooting from here with, very little traffic in front, relatively speaking, it's a tough thing to score on, I would say. And so for Helenius to be back checking that well and getting into scoring areas and just covering his man like that after so many shoulder checks is really smart defending. So this is another situation where Rochester's on a bit of a defensive zone cycle situation, and so Hershey's going to get a little bit of a chance here with a slot pass attempt, but Helenius is just going to stay calm here, break the cycle, get sticks in the way. They gain possession back. He gets kind of physically outmuscled again. He does a pretty good job staying with it, and, maybe doesn't make the best pass option here, sort of trying to go behind the back this way, when, maybe you just rifle it around the boards this way and see what happens and just get it away from, the fact that everyone on Hershey is on this side of the ice. But it's hard to make that read under pressure, maybe eating the puck along the boards or something, because now Hershey gets themselves a bit of a scoring chance from the middle of the ice. Obviously, this is at the end of that shift. They were on 2 long defensive zone cycles here, and so I think Helenius here is just completely out of gas, and this is kind of an important thing for me to always keep in mind watching guys, is if you've been out there for a minute and skating as much as Helenius has skated and on multiple defensive zone situations, yeah, this is his man. He loses control of it. This is a wide open player over here, but I'd say that being up the middle of the ice is a much more scary potential scoring chance, but he just doesn't. He just kind of stops up, and that very nearly goes in. But if you're exhausted off a long shift and just haven't had the chance to change, I guess looking for the shot block is an okay option rather than sort of trying to keep up with the guy and getting in the way of your own goaltender or something like that. I don't know. But it's something where I kind of have to always be a little bit more forgiving, especially when in aggregate, Helenius has been a pretty smart and responsible player all around. And just as I say that, the next shift for Helenius, he's going to come right out to the blue line. He's this guy there, and he'll get tied up a little bit here trying to block this attempt out at the blue line, but he'll stick with it and stick a leg out and block that. That's what I think, if I'm a coach, that's the kind of thing that I love to see, especially out of my centers, where it's like that secondary effort, that just stay with the play, figure something out, and at least try to, and that's a great tie up in the defensive end there too. Now, this is trademark Konsta Helenius to me. Really, really smart, sticks to his guy here, but then when there's another thing sort of materializing, he steps back out and is immediately right back on a different guy, and then hits a breakout pass clean to Ty Tullio there, and they're off and running, and that's a shot on net. So a really, really good sequence here, just the shift in general from Helenius. So he gets out to the blue line, ties this guy up a little bit, sticks a leg out on the other guy, blocks a pass, gets a little deeper into the defensive end, covering a man, keeping his head up, he's looking around, he's in open ice, but he steps right in and covers 65 there, finds more open ice, and then immediately jumps in on guy number 2, gains possession of the puck, quick, easy breakout pass to Ty Tullio, and you get a shot assist out of it. So after a couple of really tough shifts where you're stuck in your own end and nothing really seems to be going his way, it's nice to see his hard work in this game be rewarded in that situation. So again, this is the type of thing with Konsta Helenius that I remember seeing many, many times last season. This is just what I remember, and the fact that it's going this way in the AHL it's really good to see. This is another moment where I call it sort of defending with your arms. I mean, so Helenius is not really moving his feet a whole lot there to sort of maybe pin the guy on the boards or get some sort of physical interaction, and then doesn't block the pass that gets through him on the defensive side of the puck. So, I mean, it's a little thing. Not every instance is going to go his way, but again, I think the older he gets, the stronger he gets, the more comfortable and experienced he gets. Stuff like that, especially with the other things that go on in his game, I think the better he'll get in more situations. To me, this is the kind of thing that Helenius is going to need to do a lot in the NHL once he gets there. So I really think that the thing that limits his overall game is the skating ability and that speed generation and his ability to sort of quarterback play on his own. This is what he needs to do, right? Oncoming pressure, he recognizes it. He has an easy option. Don't be the hero. He's got multiple options here. Don't try to blow through that guy in a lane that probably isn't going to be there for you. He just pops one off the boards, clean pass into the neutral zone, and they're off. So this is why when I watch guys and I see them as not maybe the fastest or best skaters out there, I go, okay, well, can they fall back on their smarts? Can they fall back on timing and when to pass the puck and all those things? And Helenius, most of the time, has been more that than not, in my experience. Helenius' smarts in the defensive end also exist in the offensive end. So Helenius is here, and the puck has come this direction, and he does, I think, the right thing here. He just makes a great anticipatory play and almost causes an offensive zone turnover here. So, like, very nearly gets to that point. You can't really fault him anywhere there. This is something that you saw last year a lot. The smarts, the positioning, anticipation skill. That's kind of what made him so interesting to me. You don't have to be the most skilled guy in the world, but I always am looking for practical skill guys who can use their skill in productive ways. And this is a great example. I'm just going to play it. Boom. Quick little move. Again, the escape speed and the ability to sort of fend off pressure in that situation was very nearly there. But I do think that that might be an area where it kind of limits his NHL upside and why he's going to need to move pucks a little bit quicker. But to think this quickly and just make this quick skill move, right? You know, you could just bank it off the boards here and maybe someone picks it up in the neutral zone. But just a quick little skill move to go this way is really, really fun for me. That's just such a higher end idea and play that, again, if he gets a little faster, you know, a little bit stronger, I think it will only unlock more doors for him. So that highlights both, I think, something that he does really well and also maybe an area where the NHL might be a bit more of a, maybe not struggle, but a bit more of a hurdle to climb over. So again, here, Helenius goes into a board battle, but doesn't really battle for it, but gets a stick on the stick and creates a loose puck and gets it into the offensive zone without control. But again, like in the NHL, I think the physical side of the game is he's going to be more called upon for that, but it got the job done there. I mean, in my world, I don't really care all that much, but I feel like NHL coaches might, and opposing players might start to pick up on his more of a willingness to go stick first and sort of back off. And there's another instance. So again, we're talking about an 18-year-old in the AHL, right? He's down below the goal line. This is the muck area of the ice, right? I mean, there's not much he can really do here, I don't think. I'm not trying to say that this is like, oh no, what's happening to this first round pick, but he does get erased off the puck pretty easily, and now they're coming the other way. So physicality, you know, this is going to be a test for him. It is a test for him. But 18-year-old in the AHL, I'm not trying to be critical, but these are the kinds of things that are hurdles for almost every young player at this age, for sure, let alone playing in the AHL. And again, in the defensive zone, if Helenius isn't moving his feet, it can really limit him. He doesn't really close this gap to this guy here, and it is at the end-ish of a shift. It's been a bit of time, but I mean, like, this is just, it's too scary. It's too scary looking for me to have your center sort of just backing off a little bit with their feet stationary, especially a guy who I find has been quite effective at using crossovers and his body weight to generate some speed on turns and everything. So, you know, I'd like to sort of see less of that over time, especially because we've seen so many positives from him in this game. And again, here we have his anticipation skill on display, right? So Hershey has that breakout pass, but who is there first with no real competition? It's Helenius. So he, you know, the flow of play off this block, it's going this way, right? So the play is coming this way. So if Helenius sort of tracks play going that way as well, he's cutting off what is likely to be that option. He's staying with two guys as well. So really smart move. And, you know, sometimes the best interactions are the ones you avoid in the first place, and he got there pretty quick. If I'm Konsta Helenius, and if I'm coaching him or something, thinking really quickly with the puck on your stick is going to be pretty important, especially if he sort of stays relatively similar to how he is now, right? So he has the puck here along the boards, all the space and time in the world, right? And he kind of waits and gets challenged, and then a bit of a weak exit pass, but it gets received anyway. So I'm not exactly sure what the option here is, but eating the puck on the half wall in your own zone when your guys are already sort of working a breakout is risky. Luckily, he gets bailed out here. They get the puck into the offensive zone. I don't really highlight these things unless there's a bit of a pattern here, and especially going back to what I remember from last season of Helenius. So it's a process, right? Like, he's 18 years old. You're going to learn. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to play. It's just something to note. That's all. So here, Helenius does a really good job sticking to his man. So right here is kind of where he's trying to stay in the zone of influence of. He stays tight to his guy, ties up his stick. He's facing him in front of the net and tries to get him out from in front of the goaltender as a tipping threat, and then ties up his stick again and causes a loose puck. So really, really smart positional defensive play with good stick checking and good stick first defending. That's half the battle to me. Stuff like that for your center especially is exactly what you need to see. So kudos to him. Good stuff. And that's the end of the game. So Helenius in this game, I don't know for sure, but it really felt like Hershey was the team that controlled a significant amount of the shots in in Rochester's zone. And it's kind of why I don't, like, I'm the analytics guy, right? I'm the data guy, but I don't really trust hockey data on an individual game-by-game basis or anything. For me, it's more of just a useful barometer of, like, what happened with the player on the ice. But with Helenius in this game, I thought he played really, really well. Again, it is extremely important to think of him being an 18-year-old in a league where there are professionals here, right? He did that in Liga last year, but the AHL is not Liga. It's much better. It's more physical. It's faster, and I think that it is a challenge for Helenius to be a real serious needle mover and a game-changing player at this level at that age. It's hard for anyone. So looking through that lens, I think the things that are really important for a guy like Helenius are there. The smarts, his ability to read the ice, his ability to anticipate potential breakout paths, his ability to sort of just step in and tie up sticks, and especially in the defensive zone, just sort of participate and be a positive presence there and just cause a little bit of commotion in the way that it is necessary to cause a turnover or something. We saw that a few times here. Obviously not every single time, but nobody does it every single time. Nobody's perfect. And so for Helenius, learning to see the ice a little bit quicker and move the puck a little bit quicker with the puck on his stick, I think is going to be really important. We didn't see him carrying the puck a whole lot this game, but I think a lot of that comes down to sort of that lack of quickness and agility and speed out of him. But when he does have those little moments, and that for instance, that one breakout where he stopped up and made a quick skill move and found a path out of the zone, that's the kind of thing that I love to see out of these guys, where it's like, sure, they're not embarrassing defenders, they're not dangling goaltenders out of their pads, but what they do have, they use really well. They use it in applicable ways that moves the game forward and is very tactical and precise. And that's what I love to see. So with Helenius, strength, I think, is going to be a key thing. I mean, for full disclosure, I came into this season with Konsta Helenius being a mid to late first round pick for me last year. And so he was drafted around where I thought he should have gone, or probably would have been considered as an option for me, at least in the draft. And I think it makes sense for Buffalo to pick him. I think he fits an interesting role for them down the line. I think he is probably just a really good third line center in the NHL. Smart 200-foot impact guy. I think he needs to get a little bit stronger in order to do that. But I definitely think that there's enough smarts and tools and just overall awareness of the ice out there. Like, he plays like he's paying attention all the time, almost all the time. And so, here and there in this game, yeah, they got caught in their own end on extended cycles or whatever, but I don't always lay the blame for that at the foot of one player, let alone an 18-year-old in the AHL. So it's a team game, and stuff like that often comes down to the rest of the guys as well as maybe the player in question, but you lose your legs, you get tired, stuff happens, whatever. I get that. But this is an analysis of this game is about the aggregate. And in aggregate, I thought Helenius did really well in this game and showcased a lot of what makes him a very interesting player down the road. And I think it also highlights some of the things that maybe were cause for me to be a little bit lower on him than a lot of people last season. But at the end of the day, promising game from him, really, really solid effort. I thought he deserved better than he got in terms of generating offense and all of that. But at the end of the day, sometimes that happens in hockey. I think I'm going to slot him in at number 4. I really, really liked this game from him on the power ranking here. So we've got Yakimchuk at 14, Beckett Seneca at 13, Berkeley Catton at 12, Artyom Levshinov at 11, Gabe Perreault at 10, Axel Sandin-Pellikka at 9, Frank Nazar, Nikita Artemonov, Easton Cowan, Sam Dickinson, and I'm going to put Helenius in at 3. I didn't like this game as much as I loved the Perek game. I thought Demidov was spectacular in that game I saw, and Zeev Buium was absolutely lights out in the game that he played that we went over in this series. So a really, really strong performance from Helenius. Again, it's one game. He's an 18-year-old in the AHL, so there's a lot to keep in mind, but I really loved the sort of high-end instincts and awareness and traits that were there with him, and how this comes together and what it becomes in the NHL one day is going to be very interesting to me. I like the kid. I think he's going to play. I think he's going to be a decent NHL sort of 200-foot center, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think Buffalo, there's a job like that for him in the future for sure. So thanks for watching. If you really liked it, definitely like and subscribe to the channel. If you really, really loved it, go to Scouching.ca, where you can check out our subscription plans, where you get access to our Discord server and plenty of cool data visualization tables, or access to our data tables for drafted prospects or undrafted prospects if you want to follow along with all your favorite players that have been drafted, like Konsta Helenius and all his buddies in Buffalo. So check that out at Scouching.ca. And so with that, we're going to call it. Thanks very much for joining me, and we'll see you in the next one.